All right, so today we're going to be doing a deep dive into something really fascinating,
Okay.
like where pop music and presidential politics kind of like collide.
Interesting.
Yeah, so picture this. It's 2020. The U.S. presidential election is just days away.
Mm-hmm.
And Texas, of all places, is like a total nail-biter.
Oh, yeah. Texas was super crucial in this election.
Right.
And to, fully understand what Beyonce do we have to know why Texas was such a battleground.
Okay.
You see, it had always been like a Republican stronghold.
Yeah, for decades.
Yeah. But the growing diversity in cities like Houston was making things really interesting.
So it wasn't like a sure thing that Texas would just automatically go red this time.
Exactly. Demographics were shifting, and that made Texas a prime target for both parties.
Makes sense.
And Beyonce, being from Texas, steps onto the stage and does a rally appearance for Kamala Harris.
Yeah, in Houston.
Yeah, just days before the election.
And this wasn't just a typical celebrity endorsement.
Oh, definitely not.
This is where it gets really interesting, right?
It was totally calculated, timed perfectly to energize a certain group of voters.
Yeah.
And maybe even swing the entire vote.
It's like every little thing matters in those final days, right?
Yeah.
And do you remember that line from her speech? I'm not here as a celebrity. I'm here as a mother.
Gave me chills.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
It instantly personalizes the political, It's not about those party divides anymore.
Boy,
It's about shared values, those anxieties all parents feel about the future.
it makes you think about what's at stake in a whole new way.
Yeah,
Like this isn't just some game. It's about real families.
exactly. And it all ties into what was happening at the time. Remember, the Supreme Court had just overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022.
Oh yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, sent shockwaves through the nation.
Totally.
And Texas, with its super restrictive abortion laws, well, it became the epicenter of this whole debate.
Wow.
So then Beyonce brings these two Texas women, on stage women, who are directly affected by those laws. They
Wow.
shared their stories.
That wasn't just for show though.
No, it was
Yeah.
real life colliding with politics in the rawest way possible.
I hadn't even thought about it like that.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
wasn't just saying, hey, go vote.
Yeah.
She was showing the real human cost of these political decisions.
Yeah.
You couldn't just ignore that.
Absolutely. Suddenly, those abstract political arguments became really real, really personal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it didn't stop there. Then she seamlessly weaves her music into the message.
Okay, stop right there because it's one of my favorite parts. So she starts singing Freedom,
Oh, yeah.
which is all about overcoming oppression, and it instantly became an anthem for the whole campaign.
You've got to think about the power of music and social movement.
Oh, for sure.
From Nina Simone during the Civil Rights Movement to Public Enemy's fight against police brutality.
Yeah.
Music has this way of bringing people together,
Yeah,
creating solidarity and inspiring action.
for sure.
Beyonce, with her, pop sensibility, she taps into that same energy, but she broadens the appeal, especially for younger voters.
She made it current and fresh.
Yeah.
And, dare I say, catchy.
Totally. And then she calls for America to sing a new song. This super powerful metaphor for change and progress.
That new song metaphor, it makes me think about the crowd at that Houston rally.
Yeah.
So diverse.
Mm-hmm.
Was she hinting at a more inclusive, less divided America? What do you think?
I think it speaks to the hopes and feels of a lot of people, not just young voters, but many marginalized communities.
For sure.
Especially in Texas, where things were changing so much.
Yeah.
There's this deep desire for a future that reflects their values and hopes. And Beyonce's message really captured that. It wasn't just a song, it was a call to action.
So we have this rally, the speeches, the music that moves people, but did it actually make a difference?
That's the big question, isn't it? It's hard to say for sure what impact any one event has,
Yeah.
especially on something as complex as a presidential election.
True. But can we at least talk about the ripple effects?
Yeah.
Over 20,000 people were at that rally in Houston.
Wow.
And that city was already kind of on the verge of flipping.
Yeah, that's a huge crowd. And it says something about how big this event was and how much influence it could have.
Yeah.
Did it energize voters? Did it change how the media was covering things?
Right.
Did it contribute to Biden's narrow victory in Texas?
Mm-hmm.
We can't know for sure.
Yeah.
But we can't ignore the impact it might have had on the narrative and getting people to vote, especially those who were maybe undecided.
So it's not about saying Beyonce single-handedly won Texas for Biden.
Right.
It's more like she added fuel to a fire that was already burning. She tapped into this desire for change that was already there.
Precisely. And that brings us back to that whole new song metaphor. It feels optimistic,
Yeah,
but also a bit vague. How would you explain that to someone who's trying to understand what she meant?
that's a great question, and honestly something I'm really curious about myself.
Yeah.
But first, let's take a minute to think about everything we've talked about so far. We'll be right back to unpack more of Beyoncé's message and what it could mean for the future.
So we've talked about how Beyonce's appearance at that rally, it wasn't just some random celebrity thing.
Right.
It was strategic, layers of meaning. But what really stood out to me was how she used her platform to amplify the voices of regular people, the ones directly affected by these political decisions.
It's so important. It's easy for those political debates to just become abstract,
Yeah.
all about statistics and ideologies.
Yeah.
But when she brought those two Texas women on stage,
Yeah.
women who had actually faced those restrictive abortion laws,
Right.
it humanized the issue in a way that numbers never could.
Totally.
Yep.
It reminded everyone that these weren't just talking points. These were real lives being impacted.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just about them being there. It was about the space Beyoncé gave them.
Yeah.
She stepped back and let their stories be the focus, showing how powerful it is to listen to and amplify those voices that are often marginalized.
It felt like she was passing the mic, Yeah.
Recognizing that sometimes the most powerful messages come from the people actually living through these things.
Exactly. Not celebrities or politicians.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
brilliant. Connecting with the audience on that deeper emotional level.
Right.
Making the stakes feel real and urgent.
And then, of course, the music. Using freedom as this rallying cry was so effective.
Yeah.
It took the rally from a political event to something almost spiritual.
Music has this amazing ability to tap into those shared emotions and experiences,
Yeah.
It can be a powerful tool for protest and resistance, but also for healing and hope.
For sure.
Think about those iconic protest anthems like We Shall Overcome or Blowin' in the Wind.
Mm-hmm.
They gave voice to whole movements, gave people comfort and strength when they were facing really tough times.
And freedom, with its message of resilience and defiance, it channeled that same energy.
Yeah,
It connected what was happening in Texas to this much bigger historical narrative.
exactly. She's tapping into this long line of artists who use their music to challenge the status quo, to speak truth to power and inspire hope for a better future.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating is how she does it in a way that feels both familiar and fresh, relevant to a new generation dealing with its own set of challenges.
She bridges that gap between generations,
Yeah.
showing that the fight for freedom and equality, it's ongoing. We have to stay aware and keep taking action.
Now let's go back to that idea of singing a new song for America. It's been on my mind this whole time. How would you interpret that in the context of this rally and everything else that was going on politically?
It's such a strong metaphor, right?
Yeah.
For me, it speaks to this desire for an America that's more inclusive and fair, one that recognizes and celebrates its diversity, but also strives for unity. It's like a call to move past those old divisions and narratives that have held us back for so long.
I agree. It's about creating a future that's more harmonious and just more representative of what all Americans want and value, especially those who've been marginalized and left out historically.
It's about acknowledging the work that still needs to be done to get there. And I think that message really hit home in Texas,
Oh, yeah.
a state wrestling with its own history and these rapid demographic shifts.
Yeah.
It's like a microcosm of that bigger national conversation about who we are as a country and where we're headed.
It was a bold statement to make in Texas,
Yeah.
a place often associated with traditional values and being politically conservative. But by calling for this new song, Beyoncé challenged the status quo.
No.
She offered a glimpse of a different future, one that a lot of Texans connected with,
Yeah.
especially younger voters and those from diverse backgrounds.
It was like she was saying, hey, Texas, it's time to evolve,
Yeah.
to embrace a more progressive and inclusive identity.
Yeah.
And that message goes way beyond Texas. It's for the whole nation.
Absolutely. This desire for change for a society that's more just and equitable, it's something so many Americans feel,
Yes.
no matter their political beliefs or where they live.
Right.
And Beyoncé, through her art and activism, she gave a voice to that yearning. She started a conversation about what that new song could sound like and how we can all help create it.
So it's not about Beyoncé dictating what this new song will be.
Right.
It's about empowering people to find their own voices, to join in and co-create a future that reflects their hopes and dreams.
It's about taking action individually, but also working together
Yeah.
and having faith in the possibility of something better.
Beautifully put. Now, as we dig deeper into this idea of individual empowerment and collective action, let's think about how Beyoncé's message can translate into real actions and changes.
That's a perfect transition because I think that's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
It's easy to get swept up in the emotion of a powerful rally,
Right.
but the real challenge is turning that inspiration into meaningful action.
So let's explore how we can each contribute to writing and singing this new song for America. Thinking about this new song for America, it's inspiring, but it also feels kind of daunting. Like, where do we even start?
Yeah, a lot of people struggle with that. Wanting to make a difference, but feeling overwhelmed by all the problems.
no.
But it doesn't have to be these huge gestures or overnight changes. It starts with small individual actions that kind of ripple outwards.
So what are some like tangible things people can do?
Well, the obvious one is getting involved in the political process.
Mm.
You know, voting, staying informed about issues,
Yeah.
contacting your representatives, supporting organizations that match your values. Those are all crucial ways to participate.
Those are all good things, but even those can feel intimidating for some people.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where community comes in. Find people who think like you, join local groups, volunteer for causes you care about. Collective action makes individual voices louder and creates this sense of solidarity and shared purpose.
I love that. It's not about waiting for someone else to fix everything.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to make change happen and taking ownership of that.
Exactly. And remember, this new song, it's not like a melody that's already written out. It's a collaborative thing, a piece of music that's always evolving, shaped by what all these different people contribute.
Yeah.
It's about having those tough conversations, challenging your own beliefs, and being open to different perspectives. It's about finding that common ground even when you disagree.
It's about listening to each other and learning from each other.
Exactly. And sometimes it's about using your creative voice, whether that's through art, music, writing, any form of expression,
Right.
to get those messages out there, the ones you believe in, and to inspire others to join in.
Yeah.
Beyoncé's rally was a powerful example of how art can spark social change. But it doesn't have to be that big. It can be as simple as singing an article that makes people think,
Yeah.
or writing a letter to the editor, or creating a piece of art that shows your hopes for the future.
And who knows, maybe those small acts of creativity and courage will inspire other people to find their own voices and add their own unique part to this new song that's always being written.
Exactly. It's a collective effort, a symphony of voices coming together to create something beautiful and powerful.
As we're wrapping up this deep dive, I keep thinking about what Beyoncé said at the end of that rally. Our voices sing a chorus of unity. They sing of dignity and opportunity.
Yeah.
It feels like a powerful call to action. Not just for that moment, but for the work we all have to do to build a better future.
It definitely is. And it leaves us with this question to think about: what does this new song for America sound like to you? What will your contribution be? And how will you use your voice to make that chorus of unity, dignity, and opportunity even louder?
Those are great questions to reflect on. Thanks for joining us on this journey. And keep those questions in mind as you go out there and contribute to that ever-changing symphony of change.